So I'm going to take probably about 40 minutes and talk to you about DITA and FrameMaker. Now maybe, well, not all of you is using FrameMaker. Hardly any one of you is using DITA, if I'm correct. One using DITA over there. Yeah, I've seen that guy a couple of times. So he already knows everything about DITA, right? So you can go have a cocktail. Or you might want to hear what I'm going to talk about. So let's briefly talk about myself. My name is Jang Graat, and FM are my middle initials. So my parents knew what I was going to do later in life. You know, I'm sometimes known as the frame tamer. I make FrameMaker jump through burning hoops. Saibel, how often did I surprise you with stuff that you didn't know FrameMaker could do? Quite often, right? Every day. There you go. So I studied philosophy, and there's no job in philosophy in Netherlands. So I stumbled into the high-tech computer industry, and this is what I do. I'm the geek philosopher also. So this is my company, Smart Information Design. So you know, we can talk afterwards. I can give you a business card if you have any kind of problem with any kind of content production at all, as long as it's based on XML and DITA, because I don't do unstructured stuff anymore. That's before we had XML. So if you look at the world of software in general, then XML is the number one storage format. I know that there's a lot of programmers nowadays complaining that XML is too much work and they prefer JSON because it's easier. Well, it's also crappier, but so, you know, the real data stuff is basically in XML, most of it, right? And you can always convert to JSON if you like. But the reason for that is that it is extensible, it's interchangeable, and in XML it means that if a piece of software doesn't know all of the XML specifics, it doesn't care. It just touches what it needs to touch, and the rest it just leaves alone, which makes for a real change in the world since before XML. So actually, we are living in what I call the X millennium. That's why I had this t-shirt printed. I am proud to be an X millennial, right? You know, screw all those millennials. You know, I don't care about those. I'm an X millennial. You should be too. So this millennium started on the 10th of February 1998 with the launch of XML 1.0. Now, why is that important? Because if you have structured content, then you can do magic. You know, there's also something called XLT, which is, it's a crazy name, you know, extensible style sheet language. What style sheet? What is that about? You know, but the XLT is a transformation that you can do on XML. If you have structured content, you can do really intelligent stuff. You can convert it into anything else, basically. So once your content is XML, you can then do cool stuff with it. This is an example of a teacher in XSLT, Michael K. He's the guru of XSLT, and he teaches his students to do transformation. So he gives them a bit of music that is marked up as XML. It's not so strange. There's at least 3 different XML standards for music, for writing music. Just imagine Beethoven typing away XML on his notepad, right? In his notepad application in Windows, whatever, right? So he's typing up, this is a measure, this is whatever, a note and a pitch and a step, etc. And then, you know, you type all of that. But then, of course, musicians, you know, you could teach musicians to read XML, and they could play this. But that's kind of hard to do, right? Musicians do not like XML. They hate XML even more than you do as technical authors, right? So the musician needs something else. And what the task for the students is transform this XML into notes, into something that a musician can read. And guess what? Within a week, everybody could do it. All the students could make this work. It's just a script that changes the stuff on the left into the stuff on the right. But then one of the students said, yeah, well, you know, hey, anybody can do that. That's not a challenge, right? It wasn't me. It wasn't me. Some student, right, in the UK. He knew everything about the media interface, which connects musical devices to computers and back. So guess what? He wrote another script, and now it comes out of his speakers, right? So you type up XML in Notepad on Windows, and then you push a button, and it comes out of your speakers, right? That's pretty cool. So it just illustrates there is no end to what you can do. Once you have XML, you can change it into anything else, right? When it has become music, it's hard to turn it back into XML. You know, that's a little hard. Okay, so if XML is good for data exchange between all kinds of programs, and you could do all kinds of cool transformations with it, then why are we not using that for content? Because content is basically data. You know, it's data in human readable form, right? So instead of using Word or, well, there's all kinds of icons here, you know, RTF. We had days when people were doing RTF. Has anybody here done RTF? Yeah, you're about my age, right? Yeah, we've done RTF. We've been there. It wasn't fun. No, it was no good. Okay, so there's all kinds of formats, but there's really only one format that is really useful for doing content, technical content. If you want to write a novel, then you're okay with unstructured content. You can even use Word if you really like doing that, right? But for anything else, you know, factual information, so technical information, you should really look at using XML. And within XML, there's hundreds of standards because XML is extensible and you can create your own set of tags, right? It's not heading 1, heading 2. It's a title, it's a subtitle, it's a section, it's something meaningful. So it means that you have hundreds of different XML standards because every standard is specific for one business domain. And the business domain for documentation, or the combination of business domains that we have in technical documentation, is best served by a standard called DITA. You know, DITA even starts with D of documentation, right? Actually, it's Darwin Information Typing Architecture. Who knows DITA here? Yeah, you know, yeah. Go have a cocktail. So, why use DITA? Because DITA is still extensible, even though it's an XML standard. You know, all kinds of tags have been defined and they have a certain meaning, etc. You can still add your own semantics to it. You can still add your own tags to it. So you can make the standard, you can basically break the standard without breaking it, right? Just add your own tags, your own meaningful markers to do cool stuff. And why is that important? Because, you know, why do you have specialization at all in evolution? Because, you know, this is just an example of evolution. Crazy kind of bird with its beak just all, you know, he got into a fight and now his beak looks like that, right? This is the crossbill. Dutch word for crossbill is kruisbek. Actually, you know, I lived in that street from the Kruisbeek street from age 10 to age 22. So yeah, everything comes together in my life, right? So this bird is exceptionally good at prying seeds out of pineapples and stuff like that, like the pine tree stuff. So in that environment, this bird gets more food than any other bird, because with a straight beak, you know, you cannot get in there. On the savannah, you know, this bird would die within a couple of minutes, right? Well, maybe a couple of hours. So specialization means that you make something that is exceptionally good for a certain environment. And those environments are so multiple, you know, so diverse. You have your own business domain. It's different from a business domain of another company that makes different kinds of machines. So you must have a way to make the tags, the semantics of your markup, adapt to what you need in your business domain. And that's why DITA is the only standard that is really useful for technical information, technical documentation, right? If people start talking to you about DocBook, just walk away. DocBook smells of 18th century technology because it has the word book in it, right? Book is old. Book is going to go away, right? So S1000D, if you're not in aviation, military, etc., don't even think of using it. It's overkill. Just, DITA is the only thing that you really want to do. So with the tags and with the tags in DITA, which are meaningful tags, you have a better semantic search, better semantic matching to the tags that you want to do something intelligent with. So I'm giving a little example. There's the same text marked up as RTF type or HTML type, right, in the top. That's just a paragraph with bold and italic, and then that's basically it, right? So in the top paragraph, the enable option and the keynote and preferences and remotes, and then again keynote, all of that is just marked up as either being bold or italic. There's no real information in there, it's just formatting based. In the paragraph below, it says enable is a parameter name. That is something meaningful, right? It's not just bold. It might be bold if that makes it stand out for a human reader. But now a piece of software can also find this as being, hey, this is a parameter name. I can do cool stuff with that, right? A menu cascade is a wonderful thing. A menu cascade is the complete path from the top level of your menus down to where you want to be. So, and I'm going to show you the next slide. I'm going to show you what you could do with that in intelligent software. Once it's marked up as a menu cascade with UI controls, then there is much more information in that markup than you would normally have when you just mark it up as bold and italic, right? Now let's see what this is all good for. So we should, when we are in the business of creating technical information, I was going to say technical documentation, but documentation is such an ancient paradigm for me. It is technical information, right? I tell everybody who works in this industry and they see themselves as technical authors, I tell them you should first change your job title yourself, right? You are technical information manager. How's that sound? So you talk to yourself in the mirror every day. I'm a technical information manager, right? You put it in your mind, and then you start talking to other people that's what you do. At a party, you meet some people, etc. They ask, hey, what do you do? Oh, I'm a technical information manager. Oh, wow, cool, right? So until now you said, well, I'm a tech writer. Oh, okay. Right? It sounds much cooler. And then after doing this for 6 months in your company, then you start asking for a raise because you're worth more than what you're getting today. Okay, so as a technical information manager, you mark up your stuff in a way you're handling information that is both machine and human readable, or it should be machine and human readable. And so far, if you do unstructured content, you are only producing technical information for humans. That's when you produce technical documentation, and you're going to be really old-fashioned, right? You have already been old-fashioned for a long time, but you still have the chance to convert to something new and cool, to become an ex-millennial too. So, if you have this marked up as the second example that I showed you with all the parameter name, the menu cascade, the UI control, then if one of your software engineers will be able to create some kind of application which looks at the content, at the technical information, and it looks at the markup and it says, hey, there's a menu cascade here. I know what to do with that. So automagically, that's my favorite word, automagically. He puts a show me button in that HTML page, in that HTML help page, and you click that show me button, and that opens your application. It goes through the menus and shows you exactly what you're looking at. How cool is that? Have you ever seen these kinds of applications? Yeah, they run on a Mac, right? Well, that's the first time I saw them, but then I only see a Mac, so there you go. Okay, so the important thing is with this semantic markup, you create rich, semantically rich content that can be processed by human and non-human readers at the same time. We're doing single sourcing. It's the same source of information for both of these different types of readers, right? And then, of course, you can add your own tags. Like in this case, everything that I've used in this example, except for the tag app, is part of the DITA standard. But I decided to create a new tag that says app. Because with my software, my specialized software, if it is an app, then it knows, oh, there's something I can launch. There's a piece of software I can launch. This tag app doesn't exist in DITA. And what I do is I take a term and I specialize it into app, and then it's still within the standard, because every piece of software that doesn't know my tag will treat it like its ancestor. Right? So my special software will treat it like an app and it can do cool stuff with it. But another piece of software which doesn't know what an app is will find in the specialization, it will find that, hey, this was specialized from a term. I'm just going to treat it like a term. Right? This is, I'm spending, some of you are looking like, I'm kind of lost. Okay. It comes down to you add your own vocabulary, but everybody will still understand you, right? That is significant. That is really a major thing that they created, and it's only available in DITA. So it means that in DITA you can break the standard without breaking it, right? You can add your own words without the communication breaking down. That is a major achievement. So another simple example. And I've been working on this, so I have this kind of setup where I connect my technical information to a database, to a product database. So let's say you have a specialization that's called a part. It doesn't exist today in DITA, but you can easily make it. And a part has an ID, and that ID is actually the ID of that part in your product database. Then if you publish this to HTML5, then that part can automatically become a link straight into the ordering system. There you go. Right? Is that cool? See? Something useful there. Okay. And I made that connection with databases, etc., already working within DITA, etc. And it's not, that's not a big deal. I'm not a real programmer. I'm just a philosopher. I just like to try out stuff, right? It's all possible. So, now we have established that for technical information, there is really only one choice, which is DITA, right? I mean, there's not, everything else just doesn't make any sense. Unless if you want to just waste all of your time. And then there's the question of, okay, which editor, which authoring solution do I use for DITA? And then a lot of companies have been misled into believing that when you, let's say you are working in unstructured FrameMaker, and they stay with unstructured FrameMaker because, yeah, well, we'd like to move to XML, but we're kind of scared because then we have to buy a new authoring solution, and we have to move into this authoring situation where you have all those ugly angular brackets, and our technical authors are going to commit suicide or something if they have to work in that, right? And yes, if you have to work in angular brackets all the time, all day, you get a little strange. You create t-shirts with X Millennium on it. The only thing I see in my content is, I only see angular brackets all the time. So I'm a total geek. But then I don't write manuals. I don't write documentation, right? I write software that processes technical information. So why would you use FrameMaker for XML? Because it is really easy to use XML in FrameMaker. It is not at all scary. You know, I was going to say it's almost as easy as in Word. No, it's easier than working in Word, right? The user interface has really been optimized to work with XML. I'm gonna, if I have a little bit of time left, so I'm gonna finish my couple of slides and then I'm gonna show you a live demo. If we can make the beamers pick up the signal, then I'm gonna show you how easy it is and what the advantage is. It is actually easier to work in structured FrameMaker than it is to work in unstructured FrameMaker. Is that a surprise to anyone? Yeah? No? Not a surprise. Then we're done. We can go have cocktails, right? So, another reason to use FrameMaker instead of another product, because a lot of companies have moved away from FrameMaker. They started to use Oxygen, which is a great product for geeks, but if you use any other editor environment, then you have to spend lots and lots of money on the publication track, because publication is not part of all of the other authoring solutions. FrameMaker is not an authoring solution. FrameMaker is an authoring and a publication solution in the same box. You have all your publication targets available in the same product. You don't have to add any other software, anything extra that you have to install to make your PDFs create, and to make them look good, or to create ebooks, or to create HTML5 output, or whatever you want to have. Actually, Seibel was kind of surprised when he saw that Adobe had been sponsoring Formula One. But that's, I used Adobe Photoshop to make that work, right? I think Michael Schumacher doesn't even know that he ever was acquainted with Adobe, but yeah. So you have lots of publication targets, and the latest and greatest publication targets are all in the box in that FrameMaker product. So you have something that is really good for XML. It doesn't drive your authors up the wall because it shows all those nasty angular brackets, and at the same time it publishes any kind of output that you would want to have, right? So there's really, for me, it's a total no-brainer. What should we get to do our technical information authoring in? That's not really a question. It's not really a choice. So I'm going to switch over to do a live demo. If you want to get in touch later on, then use Forever Young. That's on all the media, etc. And come talk to me afterwards during the cocktail reception before I'm drunk. It might help. Let's see if we can make this this demo work. Kill this one. And then we have Windows running on a Mac. How's that? If you would like to move to a Mac, but you have to work with FrameMaker, just get Parallels Desktop. It's only €90 and it's perfect for this. Okay, so what I have prepared here is I have a couple of things here that I'm going to make you look at. And there's okay, let's see. Let's set this up so I can see it, because it's really tiny. Now, open up this. Is this visible? It's kind of visible, right? It's visible enough. Okay. Let's kick out the publish thing because we don't need it. And then we have the attributes and the elements. I'm going to make this a little bigger, like that. Okay. So you see here this document. This is actually a part of the standard stuff in FrameMaker. This is an example about a spaceship manual. Let's try to make it a little more modern. So in unstructured FrameMaker. So you can see here that there's no structure here in this side. This is the structure view. There's no structure in it. And then if you want to make changes to this document, then you need to change the paragraph formats, right? That's how you make changes here. If I go here, this one, and then I choose the paragraph designer right here, and then I choose another heading level, then you will see that it will change into something like this, right? And then let's change it back again. So if you're working in Unstructured FrameMaker, there's two different flavors. It's called Unstructured FrameMaker, but that's not really true. Unless if you have everything in body and then you do manual overrides everywhere. But then you're really torturing yourself and you're wasting your company's money. So do not use any overrides. Okay, try to at least, if you're not using DITA yet, then at least try to get some structure into your work. Use those paragraph and character formats because that's what they're meant for, right? You make one change to the paragraph format. Let's say your company says, you know what, we're going to change to red instead of blue for our headings. And you have marked up everything with body and then manually created all the colors and all the changes, etc., and the font size, etc., right? That's when you quit your job or you commit suicide, right? Or you just, okay, yeah, well, it's going to take another couple of months to make that work. So if you are at least a little bit sensible, you're using paragraph tags and character tags and no overrides, no exceptions. I don't like exceptions. Now, you can do all of that. But it gets very tedious if you want to really restructure your content in a certain way, and it doesn't prevent you from doing stuff that should not be legal, right? If I change this into a heading 0, there will be a heading 0 with some text below it, and then so there's a heading 1 here and then some text in the heading 0, and that shouldn't be the case because heading 0 should be only the top level right there. So you can do all kinds of messy things with it because there's no check that your structure, the structure that you are expressing in your formatting is actually correct. Now what I've done, so this morning I decided let's do a demo here of how easy it is to make structured content. And did you see any change in the formatting? You didn't, right? Because there is no change. This is what I had. This is what I just created, and now there's structure. You see on the left-hand side, you see a structure view, and you see there's topics with nested topics. And if I click that, I go there. So this is all nicely structured content. If I now want to move a topic to a different level, let's say I go, this is all very tiny here on my screen, but we have a topic has a title. It has to have a title. If I take this title away, you will see there's a red square over there that says, hey, something's not valid. You're forgetting a title, which is useful. So the structure, it may be, some authors see it as a burden, but I'm constrained in what I can do. Well, it should be constraining because this is a really good structure. That's the template that you're using, and the template is not just there and then you can mess around with it. You can make it look like anything else in Unstructured FrameMaker. You can just apply those paragraph formats and FrameMaker doesn't care. Instead of that, if you have Structured FrameMaker, then it will tell you that what you're doing is not possible because it will mess up your structure of your content. You should not have a normal paragraph in the middle of your ordered list because it messes up the formatting and the numbering, etc. Right? So the structure helps you because it's a template that helps you do the right thing at the right place. And then if you start, the real advantage is when you start moving stuff around, like I have this topic here, this last topic has a number of subtopics in it. No, it doesn't. Okay, let's move this topic, this last topic, into, see, I can just drag it up and I can just drag it into there. And then you see that automatically all the formatting is adapted to the position that it is in now in the structure. Automatically you get this 3.1.1, where it used to be 3.2, and then everything else also trickles down. If you would want to do this in unstructured FrameMaker, even if you have all those nice format tags, you would be changing every heading and possibly some other paragraph formats as well. It would take you like half an hour to get it done. And here it's just 2 seconds. You just drag it in there, you release it, because the formatting follows the position in the structure that you have. And that's why I'm claiming that authoring in structured FrameMaker is actually better, easier, more efficient than it is using unstructured FrameMaker, right? I cannot show you a bunch of other things because there's no time. Do come talk to me afterwards about the conversion from unstructured, so format-based FrameMaker, to structured FrameMaker, because that's another unique selling point of FrameMaker. FrameMaker can work with any combination of structured and unstructured files within the same book, within the same publication. There's no other product on the planet that can do that, which means that instead of having to stop your production for a year while you're painstakingly moving everything over to structured FrameMaker, and then you resume building documentation again and selling products, or you hire a company somewhere far away that does that for $1 million, and then you have it in one day, right? And you hope that it's going to be correct. Instead of that, with FrameMaker, you have the option to take whenever a chapter comes up for editing, because some changes need to be made, that's when you structure it, and then it's still publishable the same way as before, right? That is a major selling point for FrameMaker. If you want to move into the X millennium with your content, then there's really no other choice. DITA and FrameMaker. Okay? Thanks very much.